Hey, everybody. Welcome back. David Ziebler here with Ziebler Associates. I have the good fortune of speaking with Mr. Tim Niemeyer today. He's an author and a Bitcoin expert. And as you know, our podcast is about helping people educate themselves on what it takes to be great leaders, great business owners, great entrepreneurs, and great human beings. And Tim Niemeyer, again, author and Bitcoin expert, is one of those great human beings. I really appreciate you being here, Tim. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you, David. It's an honor to be on. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Well, no, I appreciate you for doing this. I know that it's a Saturday and we've all got families and things to do and, business goals to meet. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Surely.
So let me ask a couple questions. We're here to create educational content that adds value to people's lives. And again, my audience is managers, leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, people who want to become a better version of themselves. And I'd love to ask you about your journey in writing your book, right? Bitcoin or history echoes Bitcoin. Yes, please. So tell me about that.
Well, thank you. The journey to being an author actually never came about as, hey, I want to be an author. It came through my journey into Bitcoin and understanding what money is, what money can be, and why we should choose the best form of money. And along my journey, it made sense to me, at least, that Bitcoin is that answer. And then once I understood that, I just wanted to share it with everybody. And I'm an educator by trade, historically, elementary. So I just have that natural teacher bug. I want to explain. Absolutely. And I almost, I found it very difficult to explain something completely brand new that nobody has, 90% of the world really doesn't understand at all. And that's not disrespect. It's just a new invention.
Sure. So
along my journey of trying to explain that, I just kept picking away, like the idea of a statue. You just keep chipping away at helping other people understand something that they have no knowledge of. And I finally got to a point where I found an understanding. History echoes Bitcoin, meaning the properties that Bitcoin expresses, they're valuable and have been valuable to society throughout history. So once I had this realization, there was not another book written like that to really describe using historical events of, for example, how permissionlessness, the need for not asking for permission, or the need for censorship resistance, the need to maintain scarcity in your money as a way to store value. These things have been with us throughout history, right? So I took examples for each of those and tied them together. And then by the end of the book, it kind of shows you that if each of those things are individually valuable, then altogether, Bitcoin should be considered valuable.
Sure.
And so as far as writing a book, it really was the idea that was the motivator. The fact that A, I had this knowledge, B, I wanted to share it, and I just had to find the right packaging, for lack of a better word, medium to really get that across. And at that point is when I was like, I'm going to write a book. Now, it helps to have been an educator. I used to teach writing and I used to go through the whole writing process. So that wasn't foreign to me, but it was more the motivation, finding the motivation first. It's like, you don't want to build a company without what are you trying to help your clients? What goal are you trying to help them obstacle? Are you trying to help them overcome? I know people who are trying to start a business and they don't have that first, and that is most likely going to fail. You have to have the reason. You have to have that motivator behind you first.
You got to have your purpose.
That's right.
Absolutely. When I work with businesses and organizations, many times I'll get asked to help folks, develop their culture, their employees. They'll say things like, we're just not hitting our marks. We're not, as profitable as we should be. Our employee engagement, patient satisfaction scores aren't, where they should be. Can you come fix it? And I say, well, are you clear on what your mission is, what your purpose is, what your vision is for your organization? And often they say things like, well, yeah, I think so. And that's a no, right? So having and establishing your purpose, right, for why you want to do something, you're preaching to the choir here, sir. I absolutely love it. I'm really glad that you brought up the philosophy or the thought behind your book. And it came across to me that what you were trying to do was validate the, as you said, the entity that is Bitcoin, the idea, the concept, by showcasing what has happened previously, right, in history, and if history, right, if a track record, right, and past behavior is an indicator of future behavior, right, and of what will come, then this is all the legitimacy we need. We just need to look at what has happened before and get uncomfortable with that which we have been comfortable before with, right? It's new, it's novel, and that comes along with, getting scared and not really having enough information to know about something to feel comfortable with it.
I was talking, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. And in your book, you talk about FUD, which was an interesting acronym that I had never really heard before: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And boy, are those powerful things to tackle, and tools, right, that sometimes tyrants, the establishment, narcissists can utilize to keep us down. So I love that you said, all right, look, man, here's what's going on, here's what's happened, and it's going to be okay because we've been through this before. And this is a really good thing because history shows us that it is, right? So you don't need to be afraid. You don't need to be uncertain. You don't need to doubt. We just need to begin to learn and adopt.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. And that reminded me of a conversation I was having with a friend in terms of like trying to explain something new to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine if you were trying to tell your grandparents, your great grandparents, about the internet. Are they going to, and if you go farther back, like if you think
Magic.
about it,
telling magic, heresy. Yeah.
Right. Or telling like a caveman, not about fire, not about the wheel, but about internal combustion engine driving a car.
Right.
And that's what a lot of this is doing. It's taking a lot of those completely disparate properties and putting it into a completely new monetary unit and network. And everybody's expected to just accept it? No. So you have to have that purpose, but then you also have to have that zoomed out view,
I love it. Let's talk about Zoom Out real fast. What is Zoom Out?
Zoom Out is my new educational channel. I'm on all the socials. And after writing the book, one of my best friends came up to me. He's like, after he read it, he's like, I love the book. Most people don't read. They don't take time to read. And that was like an overgeneralization, but I saw his point. And with the way our lives are now, it's so fast paced, we needed something more immediate. We need something in shorter, bite-sized chunks. Mm-hmm. So I kind of pivoted towards Zoom Out, and it's empowering financial freedom through Bitcoin education, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels. I just started a podcast myself. Awesome. And it's just a lot of Bitcoin education, but it's meant to be entertaining as well. It's not just like sit down in the classroom and study. It's like, hey, let's have fun with this.
Absolutely. Because you got to have fun. And what's the name of your podcast?
Zoom Out Podcast.
Nice.
It's on YouTube. Zoom Out 21.
Excellent. Coming back to fear, uncertainty, and doubt, did you experience any of those three things when you were, beginning your process to write your book or to think about writing your book, or even in the middle of authoring it?
I absolutely did before and during, and even like the whole trying to market it myself for the first time ever. I was very lucky to have found a mentor, Mark Mariah. He's an author himself. He's written 2 business books. He's a business coach, and he's also a Bitcoiner, and he has been for quite a while. So he kind of reached out to me, finding people in the space that are new and need some guidance. And he helped me through that whole thing. Kind of like you have helped me also with Zoom Out. Little plug awesome. There.
Yeah, I appreciate the plug. Not necessary, but I appreciate it. That's great. So how did you get over the fear? It seems like you reached out to someone who was a friend and a mentor, and someone who had some knowledge of what you were trying to accomplish. But what else did you do?
Well, read a lot. I've been a reader.
Yeah, leaders are readers, man.
Yeah,
I
man,
don't think
you
our
got to.
audience is gonna, be filled with people that don't read, but that's okay if they don't, if they want to listen to this.
Right. No, you actually absolutely have to. Just as also being a musician in my free time, it's like,
Yeah.
imagine somebody trying to be a musician, but they don't listen to music. You know?
Oh, it doesn't work.
No, the process was pretty smooth because of Mark, because of having that coach, having somebody else, who has that background knowledge looking in and saying, hey, you're doing great here. Here's where you maybe need to go. You might be worried about this, but this is why you shouldn't be worried about it. So I'm very lucky to not have had a lot of that FUD going into that.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a few articles for Bitcoin Magazine prior to the book, but once I had the idea, got connected with Mark, he walked me right through that process.
That's awesome. So if I'm summarizing correctly, you got to do your research, right? You got to have a tribe, people who you can trust, people who you can go to give you a zoomed out perspective, right? To help you get through that fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You like that, right?
Yeah, nice.
You got to be able to continue to grow and develop and take a chance and a risk and do the things that we're afraid of. And we have to, of course, have a good vision and a purpose for what we want to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Is that right so far?
No, that's spot on. That's spot on. And I think if you have that purpose first and foremost, a lot of the FUD may not be gone, but it's manageable. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If you have that drive and that determination, all of those obstacles. I read a book a while back, Ryan Holiday, I think, Obstacle is the Way. It's a very stoic kind of book, but it's like when you're looking at all the challenges in front of you, like that biggest obstacle, that's the one you should go after.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You need to attack that head on, because what's on the other side of that is the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Greatness.
Absolutely.
Right? Momentum, motivation. That's fantastic, man.
And that's a skill that has to be developed. You know what I mean? That's not just something that some people are born with, some people aren't. Maybe some people have a greater predisposition to being able to attack those obstacles, but it can definitely be, I mean, I'm living proof. It's something that you can build upon and get better at.
I'm glad that you brought that up. Being able to persevere, being able to take things head on, being able to believe in yourself and use your purpose to push yourself when things get difficult is a muscle, right? It's a skill. And you said you're living proof of how that is a skill. Tell me a little bit about that. Were you always this determined? Were you always this capable?
Capable, maybe. Determined, no.
I see.
I mean, we all grow. We all have a trajectory, and and is that trajectory leading to the optimal version of you? For a while, it wasn't for me, and took me into my 40s to get to that point where I'm really started to up that curve to get closer to the potential.
Sure. I sense something in you right now, but I'm not gonna hit on that.
Go for it.
What I'll say is, go for it. Well, I haven't had a guest cry on the podcast yet, and I'm not saying that you're gonna, but that's not the idea.
Here, let me help you out here.
Yeah, there you go. We'll edit that in, right? I talk a little bit every now and then about how it's never too late, right? And I also talk about how when you have obstacles, when you have goals, when you have things that you've set out to do, when you look to become the better version of yourself, that when you reach that goal, you often find that there's another mountain that's higher, another goal that you can achieve now because you achieved the previous one. But I also have done research because of my psychology background into folks like Carl Jung, the famous psychologist. And boy, he had a pretty powerful quote. Well, he has many that really struck me, that you reminded me of. And it was, before the age of 40, everything that you go through, everything that you experience, everything that you read is just research.
I love that.
Yeah, right?
Oh, man.
And it's like now that I'm 41 and I'm starting my own podcast and really digging into my entrepreneurial activities and endeavors, I feel like I'm ready.
Yeah.
And there was a point in my life where I was down about my trajectory and down about where I was and what I was becoming. And if I had changed my perspective and said, okay, well, this is research, right? My successes and my failures are teaching me something, and I just got to keep going and keep moving and keep persevering. I would have had a better time. And maybe I couldn't have got there, I guess, at this time, or maybe I could have got there earlier. But all I know is that I'm here now.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt are getting addressed. And I'm making goals every single day, because when I meet them, well, you got to keep creating new ones.
I had a friend tweet out, a Bitcoiner, all the Bitcoiners live on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay.
And he asked the question, are you the best version of yourself? And my answer was yes, and never. Will not explain.
Yeah, right.
And that hit home for him. I mean, because I think that's where we're all at, where you want to envision yourself as the best, be grateful and content with the best version of yourself now, but also never settle, because that aiming for those next goals, that journey is where the sweet spot is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I listen to a lot of old motivational lectures, professional development, personal development lectures. One of my favorites to listen to is The Strangest Secret by a gentleman by the name of Earl Nightingale. And he talks about a lot of amazing things. But what he says is that a person who is successful, right, can be defined as a person who sets a goal and relentlessly pursues that goal and reaches it. But the thing is that once that successful person reaches that goal that they've set for themselves, right, the minute they meet it, they are now a failure again.
Yep.
Because they have met their goal and not set a new one. So in order to continue to be successful and be defined as a successful person, we must make goals, reach them, and then when we reach them, set new goals. They don't have to be astronomically unreasonable, but we have to have goals. We have to have purpose. This is what drives us. This is who we need to be. So I studied the masters, right, of Aikido, martial arts, jiu-jitsu. I even watch documentaries on people who make sushi. You ever seen the movie Jiro Dreams of Sushi?
No, but I lived in Japan for 2 years and I love sushi, so I'm going to go watch that.
Okay, so that's a whole nother cast. That's
sure.
Yeah, we can't. There's no way we can do it.
Fair enough.
I'm so excited now that you said that. Okay, man, I knew you were cool.
We're going out for sushi after this.
Absolutely. So there's a gentleman by the name of Jiro, and I don't recall his last name, but he has one of the only Michelin star sushi restaurants in the world. He lives in Tokyo. He's dedicated his life to the art of making sushi, and his Michelin star restaurant is 3 months out for reservation. Doesn't matter if you're like President of the United States, Prime Minister, doesn't matter. Like, everybody has to wait, and it's in a subway station. Oh yeah. But here's the thing: the interviewer, the documentary filmmaker, asked him, "Is perfection something that you can attain?" And he said, I've sought in my entire lifetime making sushi, I've sought perfection. I've sought the top of the mountain. And he said, it's just not possible, because as you become a master, your skills and abilities improve, but so does your ability to discern what can be improved. And just like looking under a microscope, you can just keep zooming in and zooming out and zooming in, right? Or in the case of the galaxy, or in Bitcoin, you zoom out.
Yeah.
When you zoom out, right, it's like,
holy
cow, like there's how many galaxies and how many universes, and
love that.
What does it look like? So
I'm going to steal that, by the way.
Please. Yeah. Oh, there's tons of stuff on the internet of like the galaxy just zooming out and zooming out. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So I often say that perfection isn't a destination. right? The state of being perfect is being in the state of seeking it consistently.
And that's the state of presence. And
Ooh.
I've always heard, or I've always conceptualized kind of in a way, or a signal of depression is always looking in the past, and a signal of anxiety is always looking to the future, right? And whereas you need that goal to start the motion for your plan,
Mm-hmm.
executing the plan is putting you in the present. Is putting you in the present moment.
Yeah.
And that presence is where peace lies. That I'm good enough. That I've made it. I am the best version of myself because I'm on that goal. I'm on that path.
And when you're executing in your present and you're working, do you feel depression or anxiety?
Nope, because you're in that present, and that's something that is consistent along a lot of different domains. Like as a musician, you've heard of people be like, in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
in the zone.
Yeah.
Even writing, a flow state. Yeah. Even when I'm making videos for the channel, I'm using that creative muscle. I'm in that flow state.
So how do you get there? If I'm feeling, let's say I'm a listener and I'm feeling depressed about, my journey up until this point, right? And even though David and Tim said, don't worry about it, it's all research, it's all good, I still kind of feel, kind of down. And I'm worried about the future, right? I've got a vision and a purpose. How do I get present? How do I begin to work? Because for me, that's like this invisible barrier, like getting to work, right? I know what I need to do, but sometimes I just sit down and I think of the movie Office Space, where the guy, he's like, what do you do here? Well, sometimes I just sit down and just stare at my computer screen so it looks like I'm working. And I don't want to do that, but sometimes I find myself just staring and I'm like, I'm freaking out, man. I should be doing something, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get started. So how do you do it?
So it has to, I always tell my son, you got to find something that you love, you know what I mean? And then find a way to have fun doing it. If you're, or it's more to the point of, if you're learning and enjoying it while in the process, that's all you can ask for. And for me, it's like that flow state. Well, where do those things happen? On things that either I enjoy or I'm good at, or I feel can contribute to society in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously spending time with my wife, spending time with my kids, but like music for this conversation, music, education, reading. I find those activities that I want to be spending my time with and build my world around that. And when I'm doing those things that I love, that have hopefully purpose and support others in their journey, that's the flow state right there. It's pretty easy to drop right in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's really focusing in on what are you wanting to do? What is your goal and how can that help others?
That's awesome. So if I'm summarizing correctly, because I really like to do this for myself and my listeners, it sounds like connecting with your purpose before sitting down to get present, right? To remind yourself of what you're doing, why you're doing it, what the end goal is, generates energy for you. It gets you going into that flow state.
That zooming in, it's compressing all that energy into the single point of what am I going to do with it?
Awesome. And then you sit down, right? And if you're clear on what you're going to do, then you can begin working with gusto.
Because there's times where, I want to learn about Bitcoin, for example, and I sit down on Twitter and I scroll on Twitter for, 30, 45 minutes.
Sure.
I might get something out of that, but have I really focused my energy towards a singular goal? No.
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah. Doom scrolling. That's something else.
Yes, it is.
That's another reason why I want to create this content, because, man, I want people's attention spans to grow, not shorten as they have been. And I want people to be able to, get some good consumable content that's helping them improve their lives instead of teaching them about some dance.
That's pretty good, by the way.
Yeah, it's not bad. I made it up. I mean,
that's where your daughter gets it.
The next dance, it's just really outlandish, but you never know. I mean, someone could cut it and reel it and put a hat on me or something.
And that's the weird thing is like, that's what people go viral for. Not
Yeah.
like, not like meaningful content like this, it's crazy.
It's wild. It's wild. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here because I want to be all about you, but
I appreciate that.
different countries have videos that go viral for different reasons. So for example, in China, videos that are STEM related, right? Science, technology,
engineering,
and mathematics. Thank you. You're the educator. They go viral. Videos like, you have some kid who built a Rube Goldberg machine that has 327 pieces and lights a match that then, starts an internal combustion engine.
Right.
That he built himself, and he's the viral superstar. He's the one that people are getting excited about. And here today we talk about, I don't even want to go there.
We don't even talk. It's not even talk. It's
brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal. So thank you for being here. I got a couple more questions. Do you have time?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So, God, we've talked about a lot of good stuff, right? And what we were just talking about was how to get into that flow state, right? Connecting with your purpose, with your vision, with your mission, right? And then using that energy to zoom in and get to the work that you need to do.
It's kind of like a magnifying glass on a hot day. You gotta get that right angle on the wood to make it start to burn.
Is there a technique that you utilize after you've done that to actually initiate and then begin working, or is that enough for you?
For me personally, I feel like I'm a creative naturally. So it's more of just setting aside the time, setting aside distractions, because as a ADHD kid growing up, hey man, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to block out distractions. But the more focus you have, the more focused goal you have, the easier it is to say, oh, I can achieve that. And then everything zooms in, like you said.
Excellent. So, and I have ADHD too. We talked about this a little bit beforehand. And I've done a little bit of studying and research into the science of helping folks like myself, like you, get into that flow state. And your comments, your process echoes, look at that.
Yeah.
The science, and the science says, our brain is accustomed to certain things, right? That's why offices work, okay? Because when you are in your office, your brain is accustomed to working. Right. And this is
state dependent learning and state dependent.
Exactly. And this, right? So that's why it's important to, have a dedicated space that's organized, because for us ADHDers, a messy space, a cluttered space is a cluttered mind. It's difficult for us to concentrate. I find that if my space is dedicated and it's clean, and I start to amp myself up, right? I got to listen to music. I got to I got to start envisioning what it's going to look like to do the work, to get excited. I connect with my mission and my vision. And then when I sit down, what I remember is the rule of 5 minutes. Okay. I tell myself, all right, Dave, if you can sit for 5 minutes, okay, knowing who you are, 35 minutes will go without you even being able to think about it, because you've entered flow state. It's those first 5 minutes. And knowing that, after I say that to myself, I utilize a concept that this really, really profound speaker and author talks about, Mel Robinson, female psychologist, PhD. She talks about the countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we go. And just like a rocket taking off. And she has some of the same problems, or had some of the same problems that we have with getting started and procrastinating and not knowing how to enter that flow state. But if you do everything else that we've talked about, and then you sit down and you actually do the countdown, like, let's go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're working. That's like that final piece. And I found that once I started adding that in, like, I could really get to work, right? If all the distractions are gone, like my family right now in the basement, let's go out.
Yeah.
Right. Dogs, family, like I can't be hearing anything else except for Tim.
Well, it's funny you say that, because a lot of that focused energy time is when they're taking their screen time.
Yes.
They're at an extracurricular or at a friend's, Yeah, it's way more difficult, because those other, not just distractions, but, responsibilities.
Sure.
They're easier to see.
Right. So setting yourself up for success is an important piece of being able to be successful, to meet your
Correct.
goals, to live your vision. So tell me a little bit about how you were able to then set yourself up for success when writing a book. I mean, there's like 20 chapters. I mean, you've got to create an outline. You've got to put them in order. You've got to edit. Like, that's wild. How did you do it?
I can't remember who wrote the book, Ready, Fire, Aim.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends that will write schedules and notes of notes, and that's how they organize, and that's great if that works for them. Me, I just start throwing up ideas, and I'm one of those guys. Like, I did need kind of an overall structure. Like, I'm going to talk about these properties. Doesn't matter the order right now. Then I need to kind of backfill them with different episodes from history, and I already had some in mind. But then from there, it was like, I want to talk about this one right now. I want to research this one. I want to write about it. And I would jump from place to place. Could be the same day. And I let the ADHD run on that, because that's the creative side. That's where the motivation is at that moment.
Sure.
So it was definitely just back and forth the whole time. And I started writing. I had the idea in January of last year, and it took me to about May. And it was constantly that back and forth, up and down, left and right. And then it finally worked its way out. I mean, because like, if you're thinking about back to the statue and chiseling away, you might have an idea about wanting to focus on the face or this curve or that. But if you focus too much on one little thing, then the whole overall dimensions will be out. So you kind of got to see the picture and then slowly chip away at it.
And that's kind of how it works. Around.
It's okay. I mean, unless you have a boss saying you have to do it in this order, why?
Right. Well, that's why I like being an entrepreneur sometimes, because I'm the boss.
I love that. Yeah.
I yell at myself enough. I don't need anybody else to do that. Right. I'm hard enough on myself. Right.
Amen.
Like,
Amen to that.
Let's finish what we got going on right here. But you're right. And, I don't like to be stuck. So if I want to jump from here to here, like you said it's so great. Use that energy. Then fine. Then I'll come over here, and then I'll come over here. And then sometimes the anxiety, right, the worry of the future, I'll channel that worry and say, okay, well, what is giving me anxiety? Well, it's because I have 7 different things going on related to this one project. I need to tie them together. Okay, well, clear the space, clear the mind, walk around, get excited, listen to some Rocky II motivational music, right? Start talking to myself, let's go. And then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then boom, I organize it, right? And then it works. It works. I mean, will I die younger because of, extended periods of high blood pressure and anxiety? Probably, but I got a lot done while I was.
I love it.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So, Tim, we've talked about a lot of awesome stuff that I think people could really connect with, really learn from. What sticks out to me is, reaching your goals and then making sure that you set new ones so that you can continue to be successful. So I loved your book. Thank you so much. History Echoes Bitcoin by Tim Niemeyer, Bitcoin expert and author. What's next for you, man? Are you going to write another book? What's going on? What's the next mountain?
I've had a few books in mind. Right now, since it's more video based, I've been kind of turning those into videos.
Yeah.
It's just reaching out and helping people understand. The sooner you can understand, the better for you. So right now it's just building out the channel. It's building awareness and just trying to iterate and get better at content creation.
That's awesome. I would consider you a success, and I hope you do too. If you could go back 2 years and talk to your former self and tell them about what's going on now, what would you tell them?
What are you waiting around for? Get moving. That'd be the first and foremost thing.
Yeah.
Give yourself a smack across the face and being like, let's go.
Let's go.
All the depression and anxiety and all the thoughts and everything that are holding you back, don't give that energy. Focus that energy somewhere else, because it's always going to be there.
Sure.
And once you focus that energy, then just ride that. Just keep riding that. Keep, like you said, keep setting goals to keep pressing higher, because that passage, the path is really where the sweet spot's at.
That's great stuff. So Tim Niemeyer, expert in Bitcoin, author of History Echoes Bitcoin. We got more on the horizon. Check out his podcast, Zoom Out. Check out his reels, like his page, subscribe, follow, things like that. This is a non-paid interview, by the way. Tim's not paying me. I'm not paying Tim either. We're just two friends hanging out, having a good day.
We will get sushi after this, though, so that's going to happen.
That sounds good. I'm excited, and we can talk about where to get that. I've taken to making my own sometimes.
Oh man, come on.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, you got to try new things.
Aim
I
high.
make a decent tuna roll. I'm not gonna lie. The secret is the rice.
I've heard that the sticky rice.
Yes, the rice is the number one, because anybody can get a great piece of fish if you got enough money, right? But it's the rice. It really is.
It is.
And in fact, going back to Jiro Dreams of Sushi, you don't get to do rice until you're there like 10, 15 years. Yeah, it's a secret. It's a thing. Oh, you got to see the movie, man.
I'm watching it.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. I think it's still on Netflix. If it's not, check out Amazon Prime. And we're not sponsored by Netflix or Amazon, but if you guys want to, that'd be great. We'll take your sponsorship. It's no problem. Ziebler Associates. Dude, Tim, you're awesome. I really appreciate
Thank you, David.
Thank you so much for everything. And any final thoughts for our entrepreneurs, for our people who are looking to become the better version of themselves, business owners, aspiring authors?
I would definitely say look into Bitcoin. I would say follow my stuff and I'll teach you about it. But whatever your best medium is, knowing about that is almost a cheat code to get ahead in business. And that could be a whole nother podcast to talk about as to why, but it's definitely worth your time to study it. I don't even say buy Bitcoin. I say learn about it.
Learn about it. Got it. Well, you convinced me. I read your book and we talked, and I've got a little bit of Bitcoin and I'm interested, and I'm more than interested. I'm involved, right? And I'm studying and doing it. And there's a couple things that you recommended. Wiser is a great app to learn about Bitcoin, as well as then get rewarded in Satoshis, right? Which is the smallest unit of Bitcoin.
Look at you.
So and hey, what's up? I'm passing the pieces.
Yes,
and it's free and it's exciting and it's good stuff. So would you then say, if I'm Bitcoin curious?
Bit curious, I think
curious is the term. Okay, if I'm bit curious, and I'm a business owner, would you recommend, let's say, trading services for Bitcoin?
I'm one of those crazy guys that says, not your keys, not your coins. You got to kind of hold on to it yourself, because if you leave it on an exchange or if you put it in an ETF, while there's a convenience factor to that, it's an IOU. And part of the value of Bitcoin is the fact that it's actual physical, or not physical, but digital ownership. You physically hold the keys.
Sure.
And all those other places, they do not. So you make up your own choices, and I'm happy to talk to anybody. I also do some consulting on the side. So Zoom Out Consulting 21.
Nice.
Check that out. Throw that
folks on it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, I would love to be a guest on your podcast.
It's happening.
Yeah, great. Because I can play the, quite honestly, the guy who doesn't know, right, and wants to know and wants to ask questions about X, Y, and Z, like, what are keys and where should I hold it? And
yeah.
Stuff like that. How do I earn it? How do I buy it? When should I? When shouldn't I? Because I'm sure that people are listening to this thinking, what are those vocabulary words? Because there are.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, you got to just get started, right?
Awesome.
Take that first step.
There you go, man. That's all we got to do. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. I love it.
Tim, you're awesome. Zoom Out Consulting, Zoom Out Podcast, History Echoes Bitcoin. Tim Niemeyer. More to come. Thank you so much for your time, your patience, your educational content and your wisdom. Take care of yourself, sir, and we'll be in contact. All right.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye now. Ziebler Associates, David Ziebler signing out. Look for more, everybody. Thanks for listening.